All right, so what I was summarizing the process of doing a communication. Background thread, open connection, receive a result, turn that into an object, and then use it. And for every single connection and communication, you have to do the same process. All right, so it's actually a lot of work. And especially if you see the code here, if every time you need to send a request response, you see you need to write so much, it's actually not good. And think about, let's say, Gmail app, any of the mail app. You need to make a lot of requests. Like search email, list email, fetch list the email, get email details, send email. There may be over 100 APIs you have to call. All right, so there has to be a better way to handle all of this. So with that, I'm going to introduce a library for you to do all of this, which is called Retrofit. All right, so this is a library that can let you do some of the communication work really, really simple. All right, I'm going to show you an example so that you can compare if you use a Retrofit to do the same thing, how simple that will be. All right, so let me open this page. If you go and find out this Retrofit. So Retrofit is an open source project developed by Square. You're familiar with Square, the company? Doing all the mobile payment.
Yes.
I think this company already went to public. All right, so initially they built this little like this kind of thing that you can swipe your credit card with a phone. Yeah, pretty cool idea. But then right now they can do all kinds of payment, and then they make money by charging every transaction. Right, so it's already went to public. And right now $63. All right. So anyway, this is a Greek company. So they actually made a lot of good open source projects for Android. This is the one and the most famous one. Retrofit is actually one of the top 5 most popular Android libraries developers use. So whenever you need to do communication, try to do this one. All right, so let me show you what you need to do if you decide to use Retrofit. All right, so come back to the app. All right, this time I want to create a new activity. I want to compare that. So I'm going to copy it and paste this. I'm going to call this main activity 2. I'm going to share the same UI, but then this time I will switch my main activity into activity 2. So we will run the new one, and I'm going to get rid of the other one. For the main activity 2, all right, so I need everything except how we're doing the asynchronous tasks. So everything the same, but now I want to show you a different way to handle the internet connection. So the way to do Retrofit is Retrofit asks you to provide the actual request as a Java method. All right, so what you can do is this. Because right now we are trying to connect to this openweathermap.org, this API. And then if you remember this, if you take a look at this URL, okay, this is the HTTP protocol. HTTPS means secure HTTP. This is the host, and then that is the path. Here is a parameter. You have a queue, you have IP ID. That's the whole request. So I want you to write a Java method for all of this. What does that mean? So I come back to Java, and then I'm going to create a Java interface. We call it WeatherService, and then I will make this as interface. And then there will be one method called get weather information. The return tab, it should be the weather output data, but we need to make it rapid with something called a call. I'm going to explain why we need to do this. This is required by Retrofit. Wait, let me double check if I'm doing the right thing. So to say example, it is called call. Oh yeah, sorry, I haven't really imported the Retrofit. So use Retrofit, you have to import that into a project. So go to the page, and then you can find out this library right here. Again, put it into your dependency in the Gradle file, and change that into implementation. Sync your project. That's going to download the whole Retrofit library for your project to use. And now when we come back to here, and then it's going to use this retrofit call class. All right. Now, once you have this method, what can you do? Well, I can do something called get, and then I can specify the actual URL. Like in this case, it's data/point2.5/weather. So that is my URL. So I'm going to put that in my Java class here. Meanwhile, this request needs two parameters. One is called Q, one is called IP ID. All right. So Q is a string, and IP ID is also a string. And then you also have to specify what's the parameter name in the URL. So this one is called Q, this one is called IP ID. So you're going to do something called query Q. The other one is query ID. As you can see, the way we're doing right now using Retrofit is we're trying to embed your whole URL into this Java method, so that when you call it, you're basically making that request. So that's how they can simplify everything. All right, so that's it. Now let's see how we can use this. Once you click, I'm going to send a request. Now this is how you can send a request. So this time I'm going to do something very simple to initialize the whole service. So what you want to do is this. All right. So in the beginning, you have a Retrofit service. Here is the base URL. In our case, is this one here, sample.openweather.org. All right, and you call build. And then after that, you can say retrofit.create a certain service, which is the weather service. This is a class we just created. All right. So with that weather service, then you can get a service instance. Now by doing all of this, right here you do a service dot get weather information, and then if you pass something called linden.uk plus that IP ID, this is kind of a key to use. You can actually make a call, right? Now this one is going to return something called a call weather output data. All right. And by doing this, this is just equivalent to the URL connection. So basically to this part. So you don't have to use this class, to trigger the connection. You can just call it using a Java method. But then next step is we have to also convert the output to the class. So I already created a class right here for the data, weather data. So you can do the same thing, but before that you have to add convert factor. You have to tell Android how you want to convert this, since we're talking about JSON. So I need to use a library to do it. So in the Retrofit, you can add a library, the same JSON library to there. So you can say something called this. All right, so I'm going to do implementation 2.4.0. All right, sync, and then come back here. You will be able to do a Jackson convert factory create. That tells the Retrofit to use that object mapper to do the same conversion. Now, if you have that for the call, all right, and you can start to run this. When you say call.enqueue, it takes a callback, and that's how they automatically implement the background process. So you don't have to do the async process by yourself, but they're going to do that for you. So from this two method, it actually says that if your response is successful, you're going to have the data, got the data here. Otherwise, if it fail, you can process there. So if it's successful, this call dot get. Sorry, it's not going. It's not going to call call. This one should be called call request. It's kind of confusing the name. All right, so here the call could do a sorry, not a call. It's actually this one here, response. You can see it. So response had the data. If you do the body, that gave you the same weather output data response. All right. So this line here is equivalent to the one we do all of this part here, plus the read value part. All right. And then once you get the data, then you can do the same to display all of this. So let me show you. Let's first run this, make sure it works. All right, I'm gonna click on send, and I got exactly the same output. Highest temperature, lowest one, and then the weather description. All right, pretty straightforward. So, but I want you to compare this time the way we do the communication. We're using a library, so this part is the same. The difference is we define a method for us to use, something called WeatherService, and then we put all the parameters, the paths here, together with the method using Java annotation. And then inside the class, once you decide to trigger the call, and then what you want to do is call this thing called enqueue. That's going to automatically create a background thread and then run your request there. And then once you got a response, it automatically uses the JSON library to convert it back to object. And then from the object, you can set the attribute, set the data, and put that into the text. Right. So by doing this, it's so much simpler than the other one. It's cleaner. Right, because you have everything in Java, and all the difficult part is taken care of by the library. So it's a lot more commitment. Right? So that's the recommended way to do it. So this library is called Retrofit. If you want to see the source code, they have a source code here. Right? And the major author of this one is this guy, Jake. All right. He's a pretty famous guy in, oh wow, he go to Google. He's a pretty famous guy in Square. All right. So I guess he actually went just recently. Previously he was in Square. He probably got a lot of stocks right now in Google. And he actually created a lot of famous libraries, especially in Android. He's a very a famous guy in Android. All right. And if you take a look at their contribution, this is like 3,400 contributions in the past year. You see, this is how to become a top developer. Just think about this guy is super senior level, and I'm sure he's not doing all the typical programming work. But even then, he still actually makes so many contributions over the year. Now, if you look at all of this, 2017, 16, 15, 14, 13. 12, every year I got thousands of contributions. Right? This is how you really become a top coder, top developer. If you look at all of this famous guys in the industry, they all share the same thing. Right? They write a lot of code. That's how you can improve. All right. So any questions about this library? So I know the example I'm showing you is pretty fast, but you can find everything here in this retrofit page. Right. This one here. It's a very simple one. Show you all the examples you can follow. Basically, use annotation to wrap your method, and then call it, and then it's taking care of the data conversion automatically for you. All right. So that's one library. Now, the next library I want to show you is also very, very useful. All right. I didn't get a chance to show you last time. Butter knife. And then this one comes from the same company, same author, exactly the same guy I showed you, Jake. All right. He created this library. Now, what did this library do? So if you all have been starting to program Android, all right, so you probably have noticed that one of the most tedious thing to do is this, right? So you define an ID, and then you create a class, and you have to define the view by ID. And if you miss one or two, your app crash, you have to come back to fix it. If you only have one or two elements, that's easy, but if you have more than 5, it's a very tedious process to do all of those initialization just by calling FunYourBody. So they created a library to help us to do it. Let me import that library. So go to this page. It shows you how you can import it. So add this to your Gradle specification. Sync. All right. Now once you got this, what else you can do? All right. So let me create a third class. I'll call it main activity 3. So this is the same one as the second one. I just want to show you if you don't want to do all of this, what can you do with it? All right. It's very easy. With this library, you can say that, well, I want to first of all find out my resource file, and I know all of this ID, right? And then I can associate those with my attribute right here by providing an annotation. I can do this. It's called bond view, or what's its current name, right? Bond view. Yeah. Do a bond view. And this one is called r.id.send button. That's how you can bind this instance with the ID called send button. This one is result. This one is min. This one maximum. And then finally description. All right. So you associate all these IDs with the instances, and then finally, once you get to the code here, we're going to do something called butter knife dot bond this to tell the class that I want to bond all of this you specify here in this class. That's it. So by doing this, you only need to specify all the like IDs, and then by using one line, it does everything for you. All right. Another thing you can do is with like a button. If you don't want to do the button on set on quick listener, you can do something like this. On send button click. All right. So you can also do something called on click. r.id send button. That means if you try to click on this button, this method will be called, and then I can just move the code from here to here. And then I don't need to do this anymore. And of course, I have to put this one into a class instance variable. All right. So exactly the same app. I just use another library to help you to simplify everything. All right. So I didn't introduce this on day 1 because I want you to know how to do the right process. But from now on, you should try to use this butter knife library because it makes your life so much easier. You can just put the ID here, just call this one line bond, and everything's done. All right. Okay. Any questions? All right. So let me show you one more example. I think we can wrap it up after that example so you can actually work on something on your own. This example is more practical. There is one more library I want to introduce. Today I'm going to introduce the 3 most popular, one of the most top 5 popular Android libraries. Retrofit, butter knife, there's one more. All right, we're going to look at that in the next example. So I'm going to code this one. All right, so the example we're going to do is something related with an API service called Flickr. Right? Does anyone still use Flickr? Oh, really? Oh, wow, okay. I thought nobody actually using it. Just in case you don't know what Flickr is, it's a basically a photo sharing service. I think it's owned by Yahoo right now, right? So I don't know what exactly you can do, but it's kind of a social feature. You can see some of the recent photos. You can, of course, these are all the new features you add. You can follow people, groups, and then you can explore recent photos. Coming from everyone. I honestly don't know who is actually still using it. But they also have Flickr VR. Right? But we're talking about the photos here. But then the nice part about the Flickr is they actually give you the API that you can call and then get some of their photos. So you can build an app based on Flickr that shows all the information about the photos. So I'm going to show you an example, something like this, that you can see all the photos in the view and then loading everything. All right, so let me show you how to build it. In order to build this one, you need to know how to call the Flickr's API and then know how to render the images. All right, so there are quite a lot of new things you can learn. So let me create a new project. So this one is going to be lesson 6, Flickr. How to spell that? Right? App. All right, so let's make this together. So the UI of this part is pretty simple. I just want you to basically, you know, if you start, I just want to see a whole view with all the photos. Then this time I'm going to use a new view, which is called grid view. All right, this one. Match parent, match parent. That's it. So grid view. The grid view is why this one. Yeah, it's this layout. I really don't really get how this layout works, so I'm going to get rid of that. All right, but I think, what's this? I'm going to get an ID, grid view, and then I think we can specify the number of columns. Now, right now I just want to do 2 so that I can show, the icon into the 2 columns. That's it. All right. Now this is easy. Now the main thing is we need to figure out how to call the Flickr API. All right, so you can actually go ahead and create an account, and then it's right here. All right, so this is the Flickr API. You can get everything you want by asking the permission. All right, so these are all the APIs you can call. For example, you have places. Get. Yeah, it's not very useful. The one we're going to look at the photos. So I think we need to see something called this. All right, so get photo, get recent photo, get sizes, get a search, all of the features you can call their server. So I'm going to use this one called get recent. So this one is going to return a list of the latest public photos uploaded to Flickr. All right, so these are some of the usage, and then that's kind of the return format. All right, so I'm going to show you an example. So you can try this one here. So this one allows you to test this API. All right, so I'm going to call this, for the output, I can choose to use JSON. That's the one I like to use. And then call the method. All right, so here's the return. Guys, you take a look at this. It returns you, I think it's 100 records. It gave you a total of 1,000, but it only shows you the first 100 records here. And every photo, you got the ID, owner, secret, server, farm, title. And you can see the title. You can also have is public, is friend, is family, all of those properties. But we don't see the actual image URL, so I think there's some option you can do. All right, so this one here, you can do URL. I think some of this URL S probably means small photos. So if I'm attaching this extra parameter, if I send this again, all right, now when I look at the photos, as you can see, there is a specific attribute called URLs, and then if I'm trying to copy this URL here, and then let's just open it. So that's the actual image stored in the Flickr, but they give us the URL for us to use. All right, so that's great. So, and also from here, you can see the actual URL, the whole URL. If you just do this one, I guess you can get the same thing. So I'm opening a new browser, I'm running this, so it gave me the same result. So this is how you interact with the API. But of course, I already logged in. You have to create a Flickr account and ask for permission, and you can do it from here. All right, but let's build this one from scratch. All right, I'm going to use a Retrofit. So step by step, guys. So go to Gradle. First of all, Retrofit. You need to add 2 dependencies. The first one is called implementation this, and then you also need another one for the library to convert JSON. So this is actually this guy here, Jackson 2.4.0. And then I also want you to use the butter knife. Get the dependency from here and copy it over. Let's sync the project. Once this is done, I need to build a service. The service is the method that replicate that method call. All right, so I'm going to create a Java called Flickr service. This one should be an interface. Create. I have one method called get recent photo. Now I need to figure out the path. So first of all, the method. All right, so let's take a look at the method here. This one should be HTTP. Did they say what is this? This one should be get. It doesn't say anything, but I assume it should be get, all right, because you're going to query something. So the URL path is, let's get it from here. All right, so the URL path is this part here. Service REST, and then you got a method, API key, all of those stuff. This is the path. And then you've got quite a lot of parameters. So let's see. Oh, sorry. So you have a method, which is a string. This one should be name of the method. Next one is API key. And then next one is extras. Next one is format. Next one is no JSON callback. Finally, authentication token. And also API signature. Alright, so that's what we need. Alright. And then finally, we need to look at the return type. It can't be void. It has to be like the type that represents all the structure of the data we've seen here. Alright, so let's take a look at the data. So we need to build a class here. Alright, so I have to create another class called recent photo response. So let's take a look at what we need here. All right, so same example. You have a photo. Let me just copy everything to here so that we can see it clearly. So you got a photo and status. So you got two things. So actually it's photos. So private photos data called photos. The other one is called status, I guess. Yeah. String status. But we don't have photos data, so we need to create this one. Make it public. So what is photos data? Photo data is the whole thing included here. So it has a page, pages, per page, total, and then you have a photo, which is a list of photos. So let's do this all one by one. Integer page, integer pages. We also have integer per page. You have integer total. But then also you have a list of photos. you call this photo. Yeah, you name it photo, you have to name it photo. And then every record is a photo. So this part will be easy. So we're going to create this class called photo. So the photo has ID, has a owner, it has a secret, server, farm. So farm is integer. Title is public. Is friend. And is family. This one important, URLs. And then you got the heights. And the width. Alright. And I'm just showing the whole thing. You do not have to add every single field if you don't need it. But for now, follow the practice to add everything. Alright. So everyone need a getter and a setter. You can just create everything like this. And now come back here, do the same thing for getter and setter. And then finally come back here to do a getter and setter. Alright. So this is your data response class. Now come back to that service class. You're going to say, I'm going to return get recent photo response. I define that class. Now you're finishing the major part to plan this API call. Now back to this main method. All right, we need to call this. All right, so we need to do the same thing. Go to Retrofit. So you have to build this Retrofit base class here. And you have to provide a base API, which is this. And then you need to add that factory, which is Jackson create factory. From here, you can call and then make that Flickr service. Service will be retrofit.create. Service class. Alright. From here, we can actually call it get recent photos. Now we have to provide a bunch of parameters. Method name, which is this. API key is this. And extras, this. Format, JSON. No callback is 1. And token, API signature. Alright. Then that's how you can get a call. And then you're going to save this photo recent photo response. Alright. Now, whenever you decide to call it, just to call in queue, implement a callback. So if this one is successful, you're going to be able to get the response from here. Alright. And then we can first test if the call works. So get recent photos. This one should be photo response.get photos.get total. Let's see the total images. If we got 1,000, that means we're doing it right. Otherwise, log error failed to get the recent photos. Alright, so let's test this. And before you run the app, make sure you add a permission. Use permission, internet. Alright, so let's run it. So if it works, now once the app starts, you should be able to see it makes a call, and then we can print get recent photo, the total number of photos, which should be 1,000. Alright, so open the app and make a call. I think that works. You see, get recent photos, 1,000. Alright, so that's a good sign. Basically, we're sending the same request just like we're running here in the browser, but the difference is we're actually doing it in Java inside the Android. Alright, so we can then start to use this. Alright, so once you finish the network part, the rest part is how we're going to add the photo to this grid view. Alright, remember last week we talked about a new type of view, which is adapter view. We spent a lot of time on this list view, which is very nice. Grid view is another type of adapter view, because grid view you can actually place a lot of stuff inside. It's actually almost the same as list view. The only difference, you can actually put multiple items in the same row. So you can do exactly the same way to handle the grid view. Remember, for the grid view, for the list view, we talked about it's an adapter, so that you need an adapter to connect your data with your view. So now we already got the data, we also got the view, so we just need to, put them together. All right. So in order to do that, we should actually specify one thing, which is what you want to put in each item. So the view, we actually haven't done that yet. So I need to implement something very quickly. So I'm going to create this thing called grid view item. And then this one is simply, again, I'm going to use a linear layout. Is simply image view. All right. So let's try this and see if we can do it. Should do either this way or all right. Let's just do this for now and then see what happens. Not sure if the layout will be right. So orientation, photo, image, view. All right. So this is image view. So next is come back to build that adapter. So we're going to do the same thing. Let me try the same thing. So I'm going to do a photo adapter. And I'm going to use exactly the same kind of adapter, which is called array adapter, which is based on a list of photos. All right. And then I'm going to repeat the process. You have to create your constructor. And you have all of this again. It's like the same pattern. So you pretty much going to do the same thing again and again. You save the context. You save the list of the photos. All right. So list.context equals to context. List.photos is the object. And then you only need to implement one method, override one method, which is called get view. From the get view, you do something very tedious. First of all, you do a layout in Flickr, which is context get system service and layout in Flickr service. And then from here, you can actually create your view, which is your layout in Flickr. Inflate the view, which is r.layout.gradView list item, your parent, and then false. So that finally you can return that view. Alright. And then once you got the view, you can do the view font view by ID. We are looking for that photo image view. And then you can actually set this image view to be that URL. Right? So now here's the question. Now you got an image view. Alright, I showed you how you use image view in the editor here. Remember last time we did all the photos for different friends? Now this time, if I do a source, you know how it works. Because you can download the image into your drawable folder. But now, all I have is a URL, something like this, right? So this is in the Flickr server. It's not in my app. So theoretically, you have to download the whole data into your own app and then render the whole data as an image and push that into your image view. And that's actually sounds pretty complicated because you have to download not just one call, it's actually download a whole image with all the format. You need to know how to save the format to your disk and then render it. It's actually pretty complicated. Alright. So that's why whenever you have a situation like this, try to think there has to be a better way to handle it. So I'm going to introduce the third library, which still comes from the same company, Picasso Square. So Square also made this very nice library. Alright, so this one helps you to load an image using a URL and directly put it into the view. As you can see, it's actually one line like this. Picasso.get, load a URL, and put that into your image view. That's it. So they handle how to download the image, save the data, render it into your image view. They also handle things like caching. If you download a lot of images and running out of space, you're going to put the latest one into the cache and delete the ones that you don't use very often. So it's a great library. This is also one of the top 5 most popular library in Android. So I'm going to add this to our project, sync it. Now once this one is done, coming back to the adapter, this is how you can download the view. Now first of all, you already know for these photos, if you get the current photo, you can get something called a short URLs. That's the actual URL. So with that URL, you can do Picasso get load this particular URL and then put that into your image view. With this one line, it probably does something that you have to write, probably 300 lines from scratch if you do it yourself. Alright, and also the nice thing is this one is done by some guy really experienced, so you don't need to worry about the bugs, the performance, everything. Alright, so now we're finishing this photo adaptation. Alright, so coming back here, once you finish your call, once you get all the photos, we can start to use this. Alright, so I'm going to create my photo adapter. The photo adapter takes 3 parameters. First of all, the contact, which is the main. Secondly, the resource file, which is the grid item. Thirdly, you have the photos. The photos come from, let me actually create a new line here. Come from my photo response get photos dot get photo. Alright. Once you got adapter, you can then do the grid view. So we haven't really specified the grid view yet. So we have a grid view. This time I'm going to use the library called butter knife. So bond view r.id.grid view, and then inside the code I do a butter knife bond this, and then this one will be automatically instantiated, and then this one dot set adapter to be photo adapter. Now we're done. All right. So load photos, create adapter, set adapter, MVC model. All right. So let's run it. If this one works, It's going to automatically load all the photos and show it in my grid view. All right. You can see it should load the first 100 photos. These are pretty small. Okay, so I think we can do some layout. Let's try this. Like first of all, the image scale type, we can do like a center crop and then adjust the bounds, make it to be true. Try this again, see if that makes any difference. All right, so it's a lot better, right? And so these are all recent photos from Flickr. The first 100 photos. And also the nice thing is every time when you click on this, it will refresh and give you the different one. All right. And one more thing, for example, if I want to see the title, if I click on certain of the photo, and I can do something really simple. So basically, when I click on this, I need to know which one you're clicking. And then the title has already been saved in the data. So the way to do it is here. For your grid view, you can set a listener on item quick listener. So if you click on any of the items, all right, so you will know which item you click using this variable I. And if you know that, you can actually get the specific item from that position, and you can see get title. That's going to be the one you click on. All right, so if we show this as a toast, sorry. All right, and let's see if that works. All right, so if I click on this title, copy. Yeah, that's basically the title. It just shows pretty fast. I choose a short. Yeah. Let's see if we can app here. And one more thing I want to show you is, what if you click on the image, and then I want to open a new view that shows the image in a bigger format, so that you have to open a new screen. That's something I haven't talked about, which is related to about connecting two screens together. You click on one and then go to the next one. Some of you probably already tried that, but it's actually pretty simple. So let me show you this. All right, so I'm going to close this. And here, let me create a new layout. I'm going to call this activity, photo, details. The layout is going to be linear layout. And then let me design something pretty simple. First of all, you got image view. And then I want to show a kind of a title, maybe show a title below it. So text view. Given ID, title, text view. This one will be image view. All right. let me check what other information we have here from return. We got a height and width. We got, yeah, maybe owner. Let's also show owner. Text view. Owner, text view. All right. So we have 3 views. To make it look better, I have to control the actual, space, especially for the image view. So we need to do some kind of weight here. So let's see, this one takes 3. Then change this one into 0 dp. This one takes 1. And then this one also takes 1. So we got text view, and well, this one also is gravity. That's the image view. Alright, and then we do adjust the bound, scale type to be center cross. Alright, just something like this, so that I can control the image size to be that big. Alright, so that's a new activity, new screen. Alright, so I need to create a new class here. So I need to call this photo details activity. And then what I want to do now is, if I click on one of the photo, instead of showing that little toast message, I want to open this new activity to show that photo. Alright, so create a brand new activity on create, and then set content view r.layout.activity photo details. And then from here, the manifest file, I have to declare that new activity. But this time, it's not going to be the main activity, so I'm going to leave it here. So this one still is the main activity. When I click on the button, I go to this activity. All right. So now the question is, how do we go from one activity to another one? Pretty straightforward. So coming back to main activity, if you ever click on this item, right now I'm making a post. And now I want to open a new activity. So what I should do is use something called intent. So you tell Android, I want to have an intent to go somewhere else. Intent is just like a message to Android, and Android is going to take care of that. So you're going to create something called intent, and the intent contains the current activity, which is the main activity dot this, and then the target activity, which is the photos activity, details activity dot class. If you do this, you're specifying this is the place I want to go. I want to go from the current activity. And then from there, I can call something called start activity. I put that intent over there, and it's going to go started. So let's try this right now. Alright, so all the photos, if I click on this, alright, so now it opens a new screen. But of course, right now the new screen we haven't really processed and then display anything. But then the problem is, if I click on this, how do I send the actual data to the next one? Alright, so that involves the new thing you need to learn today is, if you start a new intent, open a new activity, how do you send the actual related data to the other place? Pretty simple. In the intent, you can call something called put extra. That's where you can embed all the data related. Every extra data is going to be like key value pair. You need to give a name. For example, first of all, the URL. And then the URL is coming from the adapter. You get the actual item. And then you get the URL as. That's how you can save this data as this, enter this name, and then put it as extra. I also want to put title. So we do the same thing. Get title. And we also want to send the owner. All right. And now when you are opening a new activity, the intent has some extra data. So on the other activity, once you start, you can actually get all this data by calling something called get intent, get bundle extra, I think. Double check, yes. Get extras or get string. Yeah, let's let me try. Get string extra. Yeah. If it's a string, you can do this. So since they are all string, so you got title and owner. Alright. So one place you put everything into the intent, the other place you get the intent and then get all of those. So it's basically simple key value as table kind of query. But that's how you can pass the data across different activities. Now with this data, well, you can start to configure those. So text view, you got a title, text view. You also have a owner text view, and then you also have an image view. Photo, image view. All right, so bond view. This one is going to be image view. This one will be something like title, and then this one is owner. All right, so don't forget you have to call butter knife bond this. Okay, and then from here you can set photo image view. Sorry, Picasso. Get load URL into your image view, and then your title text view. Set text to your title, and then your owner text view, set text to your owner. All right. So you open new screen, bond everything, get extra parameters, then you set your new view. Open it. Let's try it. So Flickr app, getting all the latest data. There are a lot of the new data. All right. So what it is? It's the cleaning robot, right? So if I click on this, it's going to send in the data inside my intent and open it right here. So I got this bigger view, title, owner. Where is the title? Title is here called title. Why am I not getting the title? Oh, sorry, there's a spelling issue. And I don't need that postmaster anymore. So run this again. All right, so let me get this view in here. Click, title, owner. All right, come back, click on this, title and owner. Go back. This one here, and title and owner. All right. A very quick and easy example to show you how do you switch from one activity to another activity. All right. Very simple. Use something called intent. So you have to define a new activity, intent, and then put all the extra, start all the activity, and that's it. All right. So this is a kind of Flickr app. But then the reason to show this example is, number one, I can tell you how you can call the APIs to do some of the things you like. You rely on the APIs. There are some of the good APIs you can do really good stuff. I've seen students use Spotify API. Sometimes they do some of the API to get the recipes, a lot of those. And try to do some research to see what you can do with those. Secondly, I want to show you all these very cool libraries. Picasso to load images, Retrofit to do the internet connection, communication, and also the butter knife to manage all your views and IDs, how to bind them together. And then finally, I want to review this adapter view. Same thing, grid view, similar to the list view. You define your view, you build adapter, and then you bridge them together. All right. So that's how it works. So any questions about this app? Or what other features you think we can try for this one? Go back and take a look at this Flickr API. You can actually do quite a lot of things here. I haven't really looked in detail, but you can get some of the location, or get the comments, get a list of comments, license people. This one is really open. You rarely find API like this. Today, if you try to call the Facebook API, Twitter API, there are very limited things you can get. They don't want you to easily get all the stuff. But here, actually, looks like you can, definitely get a lot of stuff. But of course, it's probably also because Flickr is not really that popular anymore. Not many people are still using it, so that's probably the reason. And they also gave you the Android SDK. So to use this one, it's a lot easier to do the things like we're showing you right here. But behind this SDK, they do exactly the same thing, using the internet connection to get the data, parse the data, and return it. All right. So that's a complete discussion about how do you use internet to support your app and to talk to the database and the backend. All right. But right now, again, this approach only allows you to talk to an existing server, an existing API in the database. It doesn't allow you to talk to your own server. So next time we'll talk about how can you use something called the Firebase to build your own server. All right. It's also very simple. And you can take a look at the tutorial. You can probably start to play around with that within 5 or 10 minutes. Right. But for now, even if you haven't really learned the backend of the server, you can still build your UI first. You can still make all the workflow, like all the switch between different screens, and then data. You can put some of the dummy data. That's fine. Once you got the backend, you can start to work on your backend to fill the real data. All right. So it doesn't matter that you shouldn't be like blocked by what do I have to learn. All right. Okay, guys. I don't want to go too far. There's actually a lot of things to cover. So I'm gonna push all the code here. All right. Let me stop this.